and welcome back to Inside Texas for another live show. It is our Around the League segment. We've got guests Jackson Calloway and John Smith. How we doing, John? Everybody doing okay tonight?
Fantastic. Could not
Wonderful.
be better. Excited to join you guys and talk a little ball. Thanks for having me.
Well, let me tell you, man, y'all's hair, they both look fantastic. I have a hat on for reasons. I'd love to show off my hair. If it looked like you two gentlemen's, I'd be rocking it. You get old, you start losing hair, it's part of it.
It happens. It happens. I'm very blessed. With hair in my family, not so much other parts of health. So we'll keep the hair. Be fantastic.
It is what it is, man. What can you do? What you can do actually is you can hop on over to Inside Texas and subscribe. Inside Texas is #1 source for Longhorn fans. Excuse me, Longhorn fans, insider notes, recruiting scoops, and in-depth analysis all in one place. Join today just for $1 for the first week and receive a complimentary year to The Athletic. Don't miss out. Subscribe now. All right, guys. Obviously, you can see Mr. Jack's up there. He is Aggies Today. A lot of you guys might know him on Twitter. He has quite the following. John Tweets Sports, also represented quite well on Twitter, supporting a different part of the SEC, a team that I don't quite like as much. And that's weird because he's an Aggie, but John won't let us get them. He bullies us and then makes me sing songs on my channel, call the dogs, other things like that. So long story short, guys, for you watching on YouTube, we have a great rapport. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, but hey, Gunnar Stockton is our quarterback this year. Everybody's beating Georgia. Don't worry. Like Texas, it's going to be a cakewalk. Don't worry about it.
Is that direct verbatim quote from Kirby Smart today after a Georgia practice, or?
I think that's on the locker room when you first walk in. I think that's everybody's beating Georgia this year. I think that's the quote.
Yeah, instead of the play like a champion today, y'all have the everyone's beating Georgia today or this year. Love it,
nobody
man.
believed this.
Yeah, nobody believed this. I like this. I wish there was still a Southwest Conference, and trust me, I would love to talk some Texas State football right now. A little UTSA, not that that's Southwest, but that game is on my mind. Oh, okay. So we just got a hater. I get it. We're not as A&M's been around for 13 years, man. When do you accept those guys?
Come on, man.
Arkansas since 1990, 92, 94?
Yeah.
That's right in the beginning. Go ahead, Jax.
I was going to say, I think if there's a list of teams that aren't SEC, I think A&M's we're at least like 5 or 6 up at minimum. I think, I don't know if we're that low.
I mean, to me, it's like, do you fit the SEC as far as, like a fan base, like a passion? That's what I think of when I think of the SEC. I think of just intensity, difficult places to walk into, crazy tailgates, just a lot of fun football. We want to be a part of it, TriStar. Don't rule us out. All right, Georgia Tech. Hey, I'd be cool with it. John might have differing opinions, but
Georgia Tech, founding member of the SEC, left in protest to join the ACC. So, I mean, Georgia Tech has a case for being SEC. They don't have a case for the culture that you mentioned, but they definitely have a case for, they were a founding member back in the day, and they left because they couldn't deal with recruiting. It's the age old story when you're in a conference with Georgia and Alabama and some of those teams. It's like, can't deal with recruiting. We'll go leave and join another conference.
That was our issue in the Big 12. We just could not handle out recruiting. Sorry. All right. Thanks for being here, TriStar. Anybody else out there watching, please like the video, subscribe, yada, yada. Do the things. It's free and easy. Takes no time. We're here to talk about these two gentlemen and their really big matchups for their respective teams this weekend. Obviously, Texas A&M travels to South Bend, Indiana, sees Marcus Freeman and the Fighting Irish coming off their loss. John has a big nemesis up there, Neyland Stadium, a team that has not had much luck with Kirby Smart and the Dogs of late. But first, there was a big game last weekend. Some will say it's bigger than others. It all depends on who you are, what your perspective is. But Oklahoma handled the Michigan Wolverines at home, a game that many deemed as a must-win for Brent Venables. My question for you, gentlemen, is what are your takes on the Sooners? And is Michigan, a lot of varying opinions on how good Michigan is. So is it as big of a win as Oklahoma fans want it to be? And what do you think the rest of the season plays out for the Sooners? Whoever wants that, feel free.
Yeah. I'll go first. Is it a win? Is it the win that Oklahoma wants it to be? I don't know, right? I mean, We're sorry, guys. We're my bad. My kids are at home. They're streaming their stuff. I just cut them off, so we should be good at this point. No, is it as big of a win as Oklahoma fans want to be? We're 2 weeks into the season, right? Michigan has a young team. They got a freshman quarterback. They have to learn how to win, and I think Oklahoma. What I like about Oklahoma is they played Brent Venables football. They're physical. They made the plays when they needed to play them. They essentially, learned how to win. Whereas I think the first couple of years with Venables, they were still trying to figure out how to win these games, right? They found a way to lose a lot of these games. And this feels like they have a quarterback who can sling it around. They've got a physical, nasty defense, and they finally feel like they put it together where, hey, we're learning how to win football games. And I think that's huge for Oklahoma under Brent Venables. Also, Ben Arbuckle, shout out. I mean, good hire. Good hire. Go get the quarterback and bring his OC with him. I mean, that's 2025 college football. So good job on Venables.
What do you think, Jax? What are your takes on the Sooners?
Yeah, I've always been a little bit higher on the Sooners than most. Is it the win that they think it is? I think I piggyback there is that I don't know if it is. I think the jury's still out for me on Michigan. I think that the lack to throw the ball when they need to is still there. Obviously, Haynes coming in at running back, I love the addition. I think he's one of the best backs already to start the year statistically. Oklahoma, though, I've been pretty impressed. I think the defensive line is really good. I think bringing back Deion Burks after the year they had last year at the receiver room, I think that was big. I think that there's still kind of that risk factor with Mateer that is very high reward, or you may have a game or two where he throws 2 or 3 interceptions. I think that the possibility was there this last week. But I think overall, I think it's a quality win for Oklahoma and one that they had to have with that difficulty of a schedule.
Agreed, man. He had to have that game. The noise surrounding his name as the coach in Oklahoma, I mean, it would have gotten absolutely deafening. And it was already pretty loud, And so there are some Sooners, I think, that do look at Michigan and say, hey, this is obviously not Jim Harbaugh's Michigan team. They might not be as good as they were at the end of last year, even after they kind of figured out their identity. They were really just going to try to pound the football, beat you in the trenches. Obviously they wanted Ohio State. I thought I'd see more out of Bryce Underwood, and I'm not putting that on Bryce Underwood. I'm putting it on coaches. I'm putting it on the game plan. They did not attack Brent Venables. It very much felt like, let's just try and pray that we can hang around and not embarrass ourselves, and maybe we have a chance late. And Oklahoma special teams almost allowed that to happen, but I was very, very unimpressed by the plan from Michigan in that game. And I will say I'm impressed by John Mateer as far as just an athlete. That guy is a tremendous athlete. He looks like almost like he could go line up and play H-back or another, you know what I mean? He just looks like a football player. And so respect to that, I think to say what you said, John, Ben Arbuckle, that is probably as good of a hire as was made as far as OCs in the entire land. And that, I'm not saying that immediately correlates to more wins in a big season for Oklahoma, but that dude's scheme is fun to watch, fun to study, and then it's fun to see it in action, And so, I mean, they're going to run a ton of different run concepts. There are a lot of other coordinators I really wish Oklahoma would have looked at other than Ben Arbuckle, and of course him bringing his own quarterback. It only helps. Now, one thing, Jackson made a comment. There's probably going to be some turnovers. Similar to my guy Arch Manning. A bit of a gunslinger, there's going to be turnovers. A lot of people really called John Mateer, or said rather that he had a Heisman moment. We're throwing the Heisman moment around. We throw it around so loosely. And I'm not saying it wasn't, because I don't know what the rest of the season looks like. But y'all remember the play I'm talking about, right? He eludes a blitz. He brushes off a would-be sacker, and he throws a dart down the right sideline. Does anybody remember what happened the very play before that is my question. An interception was dropped not once, but twice by the same guy. Now, an Oklahoma wide receiver deserves a lot of credit for that because he broke it up the second time as the receiver or the defender was about to catch it off the bounce. But then the very next play, and so Michigan had opportunities. Oklahoma let them in the game more than I, thought it was when I watched that first quarter. I was like, wow, Oklahoma might blow these doors away. And so, yeah, Oklahoma, they will get better, but I definitely agree with you guys. Ben Arbuckle, great hire. John Mateer, you're still going to have to live and die at times with that big arm, with him fitting it into some tight windows. But from the ground game, Oklahoma is not going to blow you away. But again, John Mateer, you give him 18 carries. You can't do that every week. But in big games, he's going to see the ball double-digit times. Do you buy Oklahoma as an SEC title contender, gentlemen?
On my end, I'll speak first. I think for me, I still need to see a little bit more. I think I want to see them win another one of these big type of games. I think that they brought in enough talent through the portal, especially on the offensive end, where last year they were so lackluster. I think bringing in Tegna like they did, while he had a few errors in the game, I think having that dimension of world-class speed in that offense alongside a guy like Deion Burks, who is just an absolute burner, but he can also create separation himself. I think Tegna is a guy where he can kind of, and it's very similar. I don't want to bring in A&M to this out of nowhere, but it's very similar to how KC and Mario Craver work, with how KC is just yards after catching and create so much separation. So they're having to bring an extra guy and put all that attention on him, that there's another guy on the other side of the field that can burn you just as easy and be a deep ball threat. I think that's exactly what Tegna is. I think Tegna could be a really, really high-level player if given the opportunity. He hasn't been given that yet, but I think he could be that guy for them. And I think the addition, he was hurt. I don't know if he came back into the game. I wasn't paying attention to it, but I think Michael Fasusi was such a massive addition for them. He held his own as a freshman against Michigan. I'm very intrigued to see what he does in his career at Oklahoma, but I think that addition alone out of the high school ranks was a very high level one.
Agreed. How about you, John? You buying the Sooners?
I'm buying the Sooners to be competitive, and I'm buying the Sooners to I'm buying the Sooners right now. Am I buying the Sooners at the top of the SEC? Not yet, but I am buying the Sooners to be to give all the teams on their schedule a lot more to think about than they have the last couple of years. And I think that does start with, I think Deion Burks is a good example, but I think like this team feels more complete, not just from the skill position, from the quarterback, from the scheme on offense, but also just, it was the first time that I felt like there were guys on the field. Everybody on the field for Oklahoma at any given time could do their job. And I haven't felt that way. You look at that team and you've seen last year where you felt like you're like, okay, yeah, they've got a guy, whether it's an offensive lineman or whether it was, a wide receiver or running back in pass pro or even Jackson Arnold sometimes. It's like you got a guy out there. It's like, I'm not sure that guy is going to be able to do his job consistently for 4 quarters. And now you look on both sides of the ball and I think they have that. And that's always the first step, in being, competitive, competing for a college football playoff spot, competing for an SEC championship. First step is like, can you look at a team at any given time when they got 11 guys out there and be like, yep, everybody on the field can do their job. And I felt that way about Oklahoma on Saturday. Now, was it because of they were playing Michigan? And, I don't know. It's TBD, but we're going to learn a lot more about Oklahoma real quick.
I think it's really well said. I mean, obviously it's a much different offense, man. The defense wasn't necessarily a big issue for Oklahoma last year outside of maybe a game or two. And even those games I attribute to kind of, having broken spirits from an offense that has absolutely done nothing for you throughout the course of the year. Got some dogs in the chat. Shout out my guys being in here. I know why.
Chandler.
Hey, man, it's always Nebraska over OU in that Big 8 race, brother. We got to get that right. Yeah, Mallory, we had to get him in burnt orange. He has sang the Eyes of Texas with a guitar, so we're working on the conversion.
Mallory, they're doing me dirty, Mallory. Thanks for coming to my rescue here, y'all.
But I think I'm similar minded to you, John, on Oklahoma, as in the regard that they're probably going to play in a hell of a lot of really tight ball games against pretty dang good teams. And obviously, there's a lot of talk about their schedule. It is a very tough schedule. I don't think Michigan is probably going to end up being one of the 5 best teams on it. And I might actually drop them a couple pegs after that when you look at who they have to see. So Oklahoma could play really, really dang good football and still might only win 8 games. I said the same for them last year as well. But yeah, so I think for now we've talked enough about Oklahoma on this old Inside Texas channel with the Georgia Bulldog and an Aggie. Any final takes you guys have on the OU going forward?
No, man, Red River just felt, it just took a big jump. And I think in everyone's book after that win by Oklahoma. So
I will say, I do think it is our second most difficult game we have remaining. It looks a little bit harder. I will say that.
I mean, listen, Cord, Diego Pavia is good, okay? But Vanderbilt is not your most difficult game that you have remaining. I think you can hang with Vanderbilt. Oklahoma is going to be tough. Georgia,
okay.
Don't worry about it.
I'm rooting for Oklahoma. Any enemy of my enemy is a friend. So I'm rooting for Oklahoma, but there's still TBD for me on that offense. TBD.
Well, moving on from Oklahoma, and before we get into these big matchups from these two gentlemen, let's hear a word from our sponsor, David McClellan.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor, and I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach, and he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
All right, guys, check out David if you have the opportunity to. Jack's first time here on Inside Texas. Popular guy, man. Your reputation is well known, and they want some clippable content in here. They're ready.
Yeah, man. I mean, first off, I've always been waiting to be on here. I mean, you've been doing it for a long time, and I've known you for a long time. I've never gotten an invite, so I feel kind of special to be here right now.
That's not true at all, man. I can go back through text message history and prove that we have at least discussed over on my channel doing so. But I mean, you are the first Aggie to join me on this segment on Inside Texas around the league. As I said, we had to have you on here because, you just said, it is long overdue. There are some people that don't like Jax and I's relationship, that we cannot be, friends with one another, courteous to each other on the timeline. So we have to play mean at times. But he's a good dude. Glad to see Jax having success in this whole industry. All right, John, we want to talk about some balls and dogs. All right, big dog. Yeah, it's time. I'm personally more excited for this game than I thought I would be 3 weeks ago. I think Tennessee looks pretty dang good. Yeah, they might be playing against a Syracuse team that does not have the experience under a really good coach, and they'll probably looks a lot different months down the line. But I like what I see in Joey Aguilar. When you see this Tennessee Vols team, I know you aren't afraid of anything as a Georgia Bulldog, and especially a Tennessee Vol, considering how well Kirby has done against Josh Heupel in these matchups. But just what are your opinion on the 2025 Vols, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee. Again, it's going to be interesting because Tennessee looks like a more complete team than they did the last 2 years. Tennessee, their defense is playing very, very good defense, overall, compared to defense in the past. And Joey Aguilar. So my question coming to this season for Tennessee was, I mean, Joey Aguilar just showed up in the summer, right? So it's like, can this guy just show up, right before the season starts and all of a sudden, play in this offense? I mean, that was my question. I honestly thought that Tennessee would have more of a quarterback competition after the whole Nico thing and Nico leaving after spring and Aguilar not coming until the summer. But the thing that has impressed me, so far for Tennessee has been their defense. And I think they've been down two starting corners in their secondary, but they've had a couple of young guys that have stepped up and played really good ball. Now they've played Syracuse and Little Sisters of the Poor from Clarksville or whatever it was. But, Georgia's played Marshall and Austin Peay, right? So I think for me, when I look at Tennessee, my question that I always have when you play Tennessee, and you'll learn this, Cord, when if Texas ever starts playing Tennessee, and if Texas A&M ever starts Tennessee, you guys will learn this. But Tennessee, that offense goes the way the run game goes, and Georgia, Kirby Smart beats it into that defense that we are going to stop the run first. And the reason that Georgia has seemed to have a lot of success versus Tennessee is because they've been able to stop the run. And that's the thing that I'm curious about, right, with Tennessee is can they establish enough of a running game versus this Georgia defense that does, for all intents and purposes, looks very, very good right now. Separate from, I'm talking not even about specific players yet, just about the groups overall. Can Tennessee run the football? Because we know Joey Aguilar can sling it around, right? But you only earn the right to sling it around versus the Georgia defense if you can actually get them off balance a little bit. If you can run the football and you can open up some of those, seam routes and some of those fade slots and stuff that Tennessee likes to run. And so that's my question coming in. But I'll say this: I mean, Tennessee, it feels like a prime opportunity. You got Georgia coming in Neyland Stadium. You've got, a quarterback for Georgia that hasn't looked that great. The running game hasn't been what people have thought it should be versus Marshall and Austin Peay. The defense for Georgia has been really good, but if you can't score or you can only score a few, you only have to score a few more. And so that's what I'm curious about with Georgia. What are we going to see? What are we going to see from that offensive line, and can we actually stop the run?
Question for you, John. Do you have more respect for like Joey Aguilar as a runner, which obviously can help a lot for offense that really struggles on the ground against one particular coach, one particular defense? I think he's a little bit better than a Hendon Hooker or than a Nico Iamaleava in the ground game. But again, you don't want to feed your Joey Aguilar to the Georgia Wolves per se.
No, and I do think he is a better runner. I think the challenge, right, for any quarterback playing the Georgia defense is I'll give you a specific example, and I don't want to bore the chat, but this is a very specific example. 2021, the Georgia team that won the national championship. They go up to Tennessee. It's in November. Tennessee offense is, kind of clicking. It's Joe Milton is their quarterback, so it's not Hendon Hooker yet, but they go up to Tennessee, to Neyland Stadium, and Tennessee, first drive, goes right down the field, scores. Second drive goes right down the field. Georgia, kind of buckles up and holds them to a field goal. But Tennessee went and, first two drives, drove the ball almost the full length of the field and scored. Kirby Smart, he took out Latavius Brenny, who was playing star. He rolled Christopher Smith up to star. He threw Dan Jackson up at safety and ran a 2-high safety. And Tennessee did not score until garbage time, the end of the game, and Georgia beat them 41-17. And this was an offense that went right down the field first two drives. That's the thing with a quarterback playing the Georgia defense for Tennessee. You're going 5 years in a row, Tennessee has scored first on Georgia, and I want to say all 5 of them may have been on like the first drive, because Josh Heupel is very, very good at looking and on paper and script being like, yep, there's my mismatch. And it's hard, on a first drive when he's exploiting a mismatch for you to make those substitutions and figure it out. But you give Kirby Smart and that Georgia defensive staff enough time, and it really comes down to Jimmy's and Joe's. And it is like, all right, well, okay, Joey, it's like you had your mismatch that you studied all week, that you got prepared for, that you exploited on that first drive. Now, Kirby and Glenn Schumann and those guys have cut it off. Now, what are you going to do? Do you have another one? Do you have a second mismatch? Can you find the next mismatch? And that's what Tennessee has been unable to do versus Georgia. Quick stat, over the last since Josh Heupel has been there, the last 4 years, Tennessee has averaged 34 points a game versus all SEC teams besides Georgia, and has averaged 14.3 points a game versus Georgia. And it's simply because Kirby lets them score. He's like, yeah, show me where you're going to try to exploit us. and then he comes in and cuts it off, and Tennessee just hasn't been able to find that second mismatch. That's going to be a challenge for Joey. Can you your legs, or can you find it yourself?
I think that's well said, man. Like you don't just out scheme a Kirby Smart for 4 quarters. Like, I mean, you just really don't. He has too talented of athletes, too smart of players. And then he very, very good at breaking down and predicting tendencies. You're going to have to do it via some backyard football. Somebody's going to have to make a play back there. You know what I mean? And I saw my team come up short twice last year, not being able to make something happen when it wasn't there immediately. But yeah, it's to me, it's a matter of if Georgia's leaving after 20 minutes of play, they're leaving, because I don't think they have the ability. But again, I'll get more into that game. I don't know if I even have an official prediction, because it does feel like a really big spot for Tennessee. Feels like public money would agree with you. A lot of movement in that line there, or on that line rather, dropped down a full couple of points towards Tennessee. And so it's a really, really tough game to cap, because you look at week 2 and you look at Gunnar Stockton and you hear whatever, all Georgia Twitter is going crazy about, we want the backup and we want this and we want that. And, to me that, I don't know, John, would you be of the same opinion if you watched that game that Georgia put an emphasis on having Gunnar stay in the pocket and really work on pushing the ball downfield, on making his progressions? Because I mean, we know what he can do with his legs, and obviously, if we do, the coaches do. Yeah. So go ahead.
I'm going to give you, let me give you a little inside baseball, because this is not an opinion. This is a knowledge.
Okay.
Georgia intentionally cut his legs. Like, they intentionally told him, like, you're not running. If you look in the first quarter, he was scrambling, right? Like the pocket, when the pocket would collapse a little bit, or when he was holding the ball a little bit too long or whatever, he was taking off. He was using his legs. The thing with Gunnar Stockton, he has one real, I would say, big mechanical flaw. And that big mechanical flaw is he's so comfortable using his legs that he moves around so much that he doesn't reset his feet. And so what they were trying to get him to do is to reset his feet. And so when he's moving around with his legs, you'll see him pat the ball, you'll see him do this stuff. He's trying to reset his feet. So when you were seeing that game and you were seeing, like, wait, why is he taking off? Why is he using his legs? I will tell you this. All you have to go back is that goal line stand that was terrible. Like, Georgia, Austin Peay had a 6 goal line stand versus Georgia. But does anyone in the world believe that if that's Tennessee on the other side at that goal line, that Georgia's going to run 6 plays and not run Gunnar Stockton one time on the goal line?
Right.
So
or run other concept, or
a zone read and RPO, like something that's like, hey, Gunnar, like you got the option here to, like, pull it and run, and they didn't, And so that's again, it's Gunnar's biggest issue is he's got to reset his feet. Like, he at the end of the day, he's so comfortable moving. He's been moving since he was a kid, right? Using his legs, that his feet get out from under him. And when that happens, balls get underthrown, balls get, off target, like all that. So they're trying to force the issue of if you're moving around, you got to stop, reset your feet. You can't just take off. This week, it's a different story. I think he's going to use legs. I also don't think, Georgia had, I want to say, I don't know this stat. I need to look it up. I had it right off the top of my head, but Georgia, it was like 60-something% of plays of throws were behind at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. It's like just just check downs and screens. Again, that's not going to happen versus Tennessee, because that's not how you're going to beat Tennessee. So you were very astute in your observation, because that's exactly what happened.
It looked like at times his lower body was wanting to run, and then you can see his mind like, no, like I said off screen.
If you watch him pat the ball, like, people say he's double clutching, but really it's like he's trying to get his feet, he's trying to get all the mechanics lined up, and that's a problem. If you're Georgia and you have a guy who's been in the program for 3 years now, and he's doing this, as the starting quarterback, into the season, it's like, it is a problem. I'm not saying it's like, oh, don't worry about it because they were forcing the issue. It's like they're forcing it for a reason. Like it's a problem.
Right.
But it definitely, in other games versus other opponents, he would have been gone. It wouldn't. I mean, he would have taken off. It wouldn't have been him back there double clutching and patting the ball a lot.
Well, talk to your fan base, man, because they're calling for the guy's head already. And I was like, are you sure? I mean, but yeah, Jax, what do you think, brother? You look at this game from a neutral
real quick,
standpoint.
Georgia fans didn't want Stetson Bennett, Jake Fromm. Like every year, Georgia fans have wanted the backup quarterback since Kirby Smart has been here. So this is par for the course. Like this is who we are.
Obviously, I can empathize with that. Yeah. Hey, Lounge Dog, I saw you up there. Evan, see you over here. Yeah, Lounge Dog, when you've decided what you're putting on the smoker this weekend, let us know. For you YouTubers, old Lounge Dog here is about as good as it gets when it comes to smoking any type of meats, man. That guy, he knows what he's doing. But yeah, let's go ahead before we get to the Jackson's opinion on the dogs and the Vols. Let's hear a word from our sponsor, Luxe Kitchen and Bath.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
And the real reason John is here is because I'm about to put him on the spot and ask if he will help me remodel my kitchen and bath, and use his debit or credit card to do so. But no, check out Luxe Kitchen and Bath, guys. Yeah, I mean, I agree with almost everything that you said, John. It's just like I am not going to see, or I'm not going to believe Tennessee can beat Georgia on the football field until I actually see it with my eyes with these 2 coaches, Kirby, Josh Heupel, because of so many reasons that you just said. And I know I've learned Kirby is a craftsman. He will play with people just to show you something else. He will challenge his own teams in ways that I didn't know coaches challenged guys. Jax, what are your thoughts on the Vols and the dogs, man? Vols got a chance up there?
For me, I think probably in another world, maybe. But for me, I'm probably more blunt about it. But I think looking at Tennessee, you have your top 2 corners out. I think Jermon McCoy is as talented as any corner in the country. I love the guy. I think he's a tremendous player. But if I'm correct, I saw that he was ruled out as well as another corner. I'm not sold on the quarterback in Athens, but I think that with 2 top cornerbacks out for the Vols, I think there's an opportunity there for them. I'm a big Nate Frazier guy. I think he's still waiting to have that one game where he's completely dominates. I think he's that talented. At high school, that was my top back in the class, I believe. But I think the talent is there for Georgia offensively, and I think if it's there offensively and they have a good matchup, they're going to win whatever game they play. The defense will hold its own. And I'll say my prediction because I've already posted it and we'll pick them, but I have the dogs by at least 10. We'll see what happens. Who knows?
I like it. A couple commenters might not love it, but yeah, I mean, I'm just glad we got some Vols in here, and definitely want to hear y'all's opinions too. Give us some score predictions. John, do you have a score prediction? Obviously, I think you probably lean to agree with Jax there.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's 27-17 Georgia. A couple of points. Syracuse threw for 274 yards against this Tennessee defense, rushed for 103 yards versus this Tennessee defense. Syracuse turned around and ran for 44 versus UConn. And so, I don't know that it's a good omen for Tennessee that Syracuse threw for 274 and ran for 103 on you. And then you're going to, somehow try to contain Georgia. So I think because of that, and I say on the other side, until Josh Heupel has had 4 tries, including 1 try with the number 1 team in the country in 2022, Tennessee came into Sanford Stadium in Athens, the just come out 4 days earlier and had ranked Tennessee number 1 ahead of Georgia, and Tennessee was averaging. They had scored 52 on Alabama that year. They were averaging something like 49 points a game or something, and Kirby Smart held them to 13. And so until Josh Heupel shows that he can actually sustain that offense and score more than 17, which he hasn't done. He's had 4 tries and he only scored 17 points as his high water mark. I just can't. I even Tennessee, and I do think that Georgia has the ability. Syracuse again. It's one game, but Syracuse put up 26 on them. East Tennessee put up 21 or 17, whatever it was. I just think Georgia's going to be able to score enough points, and I think Tennessee's not. So 27-17 is my score. On this show. If you ask me on Twitter, it's Tennessee 55, Georgia 0.
Play that bit, baby.
Yeah, it's just been coming. It's been ebbing and flowing. So I do, tonight, Georgia 27-17. Tomorrow morning, I'll be like, we're going to get killed. Like, it's over. We shouldn't show up. So the
life of a college football fan.
If you see me on Twitter, the life of a Georgia fan, the roller coaster of.
I'm not trying to hear all that, bro. You got 2 natties in the last 4 years. I'm not trying to hear all that. Get out of here. I will say this. We do have some score predictions coming in. Evan is not playing the bit. Evan says 70-0. He's he is playing the bit. I thought I heard that backwards. Okay, Evan's fully in. So I will say this. Mallory had a 27-13 prediction. I will say this. I've sensed more of a nervous energy around this game than I anticipated. There hasn't been your normal Twitter banter. You haven't seen a lot of the crazy stuff that you might see in the past. Lounge probably speaking truth here. It says Kirby is slipping. I don't agree. One thing that I am curious about is, and I've talked to John before, is how long Kirby hangs around the old college level, because I think he is a guy that he's got kids around or kids in school, right? But
I think his son Andrew, his youngest, is the athlete. So I say that Weston. He has an older son who's a really good tennis player. But Andrew is the football, baseball guy, and I do think that he probably would like an opportunity to coach Andrew. And I think he's in 8th or 9th grade now, or 8th grade, I think. So I think he might hang around a little bit, but I don't. It wears on him every year. You see it every year. And it's not even I'm not even talking like physical appearance. You just see the way he's continually trying to evolve and get better. But he's very similar to Nick Saban in terms of, the way that Kirby Smart, everything he believes about this game is the head coach, is the CEO, controls, sets the tone in all aspects. And now that's changed a lot, right? Now it's different. It's different. And that's not just because of NIL. It's because it's a lot of things. It's expansion, it's expanded playoff. There's a lot of things why it's changed. So I'll be curious to see how long he hangs around. I think Georgia fans should just enjoy it, because I don't think he's coaching until he's 70, like Nick Saban. And I also don't, if Georgia, I tell people all the time, I was like, if Kirby Smart's the head coach at Georgia in 2030, then he's exceeded my expectations. I think he's probably got another 4 years.
I fully agree with you, and it's for just kind of reading the tea leaves of some of the quotes that he makes. And I mean, maybe I don't understand them, and I'm just making a big deal out of nothing. I'm not making a big deal. I just think it's a very difficult time to be a college coach right now, and for some of these guys, I mean, I would understand why they may look elsewhere. I love the dogs in the comments. Did y'all know hear how loud Neyland Stadium is? Mallory, poor old Georgia. But Chris, being real, I agree.
Georgia.
Don't turn the ball over. Don't lose the turnover battle. I don't see Tennessee winning. Definitely don't see a high-scoring game here. I think it's lower. Hey, shout out to my guy Clint. Congrats on getting back out on the golf course, man. Glad you are healthy and good to go. Congrats on the low round. I won't out you here on the comments on what we think a low round is, but I'm proud of you, brother. Dogs Vol is going to be a good one. Dogs, I think at the moment favored by 3.5 points there at Neyland. It's going to be rocking. And if I could be at any college game this weekend, that is a game that I would be at. Jackson Callaway, we're moving on to your guys. This is a big one, man. This is Mike Elko, year 2, 2-0 to start the season. haven't had a big time, in my opinion. You won the road game with Florida last year, but you haven't had that, like, hey, look at us type road win in such a long time. Got several opportunities to do so this year, but how are we feeling about the Ags' chances of doing so this Saturday?
Yeah, and talking about, like, it's been so long since we've had a big road win. I think I remember listening to Josh Pate last night or the day before that. And I think he said that we haven't had a ranked road win in terms of the final rankings since 2016 or 14. There it is. And we haven't had a top 10 road win since 1979. So, those aren't great stats, and I hate saying them, but it's something to think about. I think a lot of the recent struggle too on the road was under Jimbo Fisher. Obviously, we're only 1 year at Mike Elko. Didn't have a ton of huge road games last year. I think you were blessed with a really good home schedule, which now is flip-flopped. But I think this is a game where you have an opportunity. I think more than anything, I think Notre Dame's a good team. Are they a top 10 team? Still to be determined. I don't know how you guys felt about the Miami performance, but I think this is a very winnable game for A&M right now.
I agree with you, man. I tend to lean that way as well. 2014, shout out Clint, Auburn at Auburn, Jordan Hare, Kevin Sumlin. You had a 2:30 kickoff. If I'm not mistaken, Auburn was top 10. Could have been wrong, but Auburn had a dang good team. A&M went in there and beat them 41-38. I'm not looking any of this up. I have Aggie knowledge too. Okay, I promise. That was a heck of a ball game. I remember a field goal at the end. I can't remember if A&M made the field goal or if A&M blocked an Auburn field goal, but one of the two happened. And it's crazy to think about. Yes, that is 11 years ago. That is the last ranked road win for A&M. I am very high on Mike Elko as a coach, Jackson. You and I talk a lot, but I don't think I've ever just said that directly to you. Long term, I think Mike Elko gets A&M a lot closer to what the fan base wants than they've been in the past. I am very curious to see how Notre Dame looks coming off of a loss. I am a big believer in Marcus Freeman as a head coach, especially the type of energy, the mindset that his type of teams play with. Now, CJ Carr still is going to have to hit some passes, in my opinion. Do you see A&M selling out here to stop the run, considering they've struggled a little bit here in the first 2 weeks, if you look at box score wise? But again, it doesn't always tell the full story. You're going to know a little bit more. So is there issues with your run defense, or would you be concerned there? And then also, what do you think the best plan is for them to stop the two backs that Notre Dame is going to feature on Saturday?
Yeah, there's a lot I could say, so I'm going to try and simplify it the best I can, because I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about here in the next few minutes. But I think for A&M, and I kind of said this in one of my articles the other day, is I don't think you can stop Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. I think it's a very talented running back duo, obviously. If you can limit them, that's a win in your book. Obviously, there's much more to be done outside of that. But if you can limit the pair, you won't be able to stop them. But if you can limit them, I think you're in a really good situation to win that game. I think CJ Carr, very simplified for him last week or 2 weeks ago. It's Miami now. It was a lot of quick action. I think they were trying to get him going. I think when they try to push it downfield a little bit more, it wasn't as successful for them. Again, we kind of talked about it pre-show a little bit. I think this is a week where you need Will Lee to kind of get back to where you expect him to be. These last few weeks have kind of been tough. We can kind of talk about his performance, but it kind of felt like he was unmotivated in those games. He was kind of looking forward, which is something that is a coaching thing that they had to fix. But I think early on, this is a guy that you need to have fully healthy. Of course, last week their passing attack wasn't great. Jaden Greathouse had 0 receptions. He ran only 29 routes. I believe it was targeted twice. They have another really impressive receiver, Jordan Faison, who I think is probably the one guy on that offense that I look at outside of Jeremiah Love. I'm like, this is a guy that can match up really bad with A&M because he's very shifty. He is a guy that'll be hard to tackle, and in the defense that has struggled with their tackling in the past and to start the season as well this year. It's not just like that's been an issue that's been resolved. I think that's kind of lingered into this year a little bit. I think that's one guy that could have an impact on this game a lot.
I think that's well said, man. I mean, they have, like you just mentioned, Faison and Jaden Greathouse. I mean, those are great targets to have. It's not going to be the best 1-2 in America out there, but it's certainly a top 15, top 20. And so it can present a problem. But again, you have to be able to get those guys down the field. And at times you're going to have to be able to stretch the field in doing so because you play against these really good coordinators. They're just going to realize that you're playing the game in a box. They're going to bring more people down around the line of scrimmage. Obviously helps the ground game, helps in the quick game, the screen game, stuff like that. So I will be curious to see just how aggressive Mike Elko gets in bringing in his defense, bringing safeties down, flirting, maybe instead of 10 or 12 yards off the ball, maybe playing 8 yards off the ball.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that's a really good point and something that's especially interesting this week. Because when I was talking to the Notre Dame guys the other day, they had 2 tight ends play last week. One of them played 1 snap. They lost Flanagan. He'll be out for a little bit longer, but they have 1 tight end that they really like. The second guy played 1 snap, as I just said. I think that gives A&M an opportunity, and I think as well, A&M wants to be more aggressive. I think they want to show more. I think they have more talent and more comfortability in that defense, especially with better pass rushers than they had last year, in my opinion. I think Cassius Howell was the best pass rusher on that team last year. I think it opens the door defensively, like you were saying, to kind of be a little exotic if you want to. I think that they won't be able to do those power runs that they want to do. They won't be able to do 12 personnel. It's going to be very difficult for Notre Dame to really set up a power run. And for A&M, that kind of opens the door for you to kind of try and push your way into forcing a turnover, stopping runs behind the line of scrimmage, whatever it may be.
I agree with you, John. When you look at Texas A&M, just in general, what are some of your thoughts on the Aggies? But then when you look at this matchup with Notre Dame, who are you're plenty comfortable, or well acclimated with, rather. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is. I know it's cliche to say, but this is absolutely a line of scrimmage football game, right? Can Notre Dame, to your point, Cord, like when Elko tries to bring that pressure, whether it's true pressure or whether it's simulated pressure, and throw CJ Carr off, can Notre Dame run the football? Can they protect CJ Carr and let him do anything, and kind of get into a rhythm? And then on the other side of the ball, it's Texas A&M. I mean, this is a team that wants to run the football, right? And I think Notre Dame, it's interesting because I do think Notre Dame, their front seven is pretty good. I mean, they're not quite as good as they were last year on that side of the ball, like when Georgia played them. But one of the things that they will do, I think, to Texas A&M is they're going to send a lot of pressure, right? I mean, they're going to they're going to throw a lot of looks at Texas A&M to try to confuse Marcel Reed and try to get just get him and that offense off their spot. And so it's going to come down to the line of scrimmage for me. And I just think Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is built to win this kind of game, right? I mean, it's not Texas A&M is not the type of team, and neither. No team in the SEC anymore is built to, it's like we can win in all kinds of ways. I don't think there's a team, I think all teams are, for the most part, built to win now in like certain kind of ways. Like, all right, this is how we can win, and we could win every game this way, but this is how we can win. Texas A&M, that's it. Texas A&M, they are built, if they can establish a run, and if they can get quarterbacks off of their spot and send pressure on the defense side of the ball, going to be good. So I think Texas A&M, I think they're built to win this kind of game. I think Notre Dame, it'll be interesting, right? Because I do think, for my money, Jeremiah Love is the best running back in the country. I think Jadarian Price is like really, really good. I think he's a guy that's like very underrated because he plays behind Jeremiah Love. But man, it's a tough task. It's a tough task with Elko and his defensive brain and the depth that Texas A&M, feels like they have now. The ball for this kind of game. So I think Texas A&M is going to win. I think Texas A&M is going to win by double digits. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think Texas A&M is going to win by 10 plus on Saturday.
I'm honestly not even surprised to hear it, man. I just think that in any take anyone has on this game, I haven't been, terribly shocked to see it. People who said the Irish by 2 scores, people who said A&M by 2 scores. It's all, to me, like you just said, it's in the trenches. And for me, for anyone that's followed me for the last year doing this type of content, like I am a huge, win first downs kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And especially in games where you have a quarterback like CJ Carr, who may be a little bit limited early on in his tenure as a passer. You have Marcel Reed, a guy who there was a heavy emphasis on putting it downfield, or they put a heavy emphasis on him attacking downfield, intermediate, and in the deep game at times these first 2 weeks. And so to me, it's just like, I agree with y'all. I think A&M is a little more well-built to win this game, this matchup. I don't think it did Notre Dame any favors to have that bye week after a loss Yes, you get to refocus. Yes, you get to really practice. CJ Carr needs reps, game reps. You know what I mean? Like, you can't fake those in practice. Big difference when the lights come on. Lounge Dog, he's got the other guys. He says the Golden Domers 24-21. Good point, Mr. Clint. Y'all did hold Love and Price last year down pretty well. You really, really held them well before that fourth quarter, and there's a couple of big runs. But to me, again, that was a defense that had just not given up, but man, you'd seen the offense struggle for so long in that game, and at some point, I don't care what defense you have, almost every good defense at some point, maybe it's not a big play, you give up just a chunk or so, but you just have a little bit of a letdown moment, man. You know, you need to feel like, hey, what we do out here matters. And so I'm not saying that A&M has any type of culture issue, nothing like that. I'm just saying those long runs at the end of that game made a little bit of sense to me after all the struggles that A&M, Connor Wigman, and that offensive line had in that opener. It was a game I picked A&M to win. I don't have the score yet. I'll drop that tomorrow morning on the Twitter timeline, but I am taking A&M to win this. I did not feel that way up until about 4 or 5 days ago, and then I rewatched A&M UTSA a couple times. And I think I agree with you, John, in the fact that A&M is going to have more opportunities to score the football. That's just what it comes down to. I'm not a huge believer in CJ Carr. Jax, if A&M were to lose this game, what went wrong, brother?
If A&M were to lose this game, I think, and I'll kind of think about it, because I think there's a lot of ways that can go either way. I think if you lose this game, I think it's going to be because you were not able to contain Jeremiah Love, or if Notre Dame had a touchdown or two that were just a busted coverage, a deep ball. I think A&M has to lose the turnover battle in order for that to happen. It doesn't happen much for Texas A&M, especially Marcel Reed at the helm. But I think they're probably, if they lose this game, it's going to be because of turnovers, I think.
You know, that I'm with you there. You can't allow the easy plays to an offense that, you know, they made it look really hard. And Miami gave up a busted coverage and gave up a big play and almost let Notre Dame back, or they let them back into that game, almost let Notre Dame sneak out of there with a win. You know, you just can't give up the big plays. They have several cats that can do it. Jaden Greathouse is going to, you know, we saw him in the national championship game make some big plays. Obviously, both backs are capable. To me, if I'm Ben Brock, on early downs, I'm creating multiple ways to get the ball into my running back's hands, but through the air. Mm-hmm. Now, I think that where, you know, you get the ball to those gentlemen in space. Jack's talked a little bit about A&M having some tackling issues. That is something that I would do rather than just saying, hey, Mike Elko, we're going to run inside zone into the teeth of your 7-man blitz. Haha, let's have some fun. You know, that's more. And so I'm really curious to see how these coaches, coordinators handle first downs on both sides of the football. Colin Klein's got to be really good. He's got to set up Marcel Reed for success. And so, but again, I think A&M has the better weapons. I think that the offensive line playing a little bit better. Obviously, a big injury for Notre Dame in the preseason, similar to last year. That unit got thrown around by a Miami defensive line who, don't get me wrong, is probably a top 10 unit in college football. But I like A&M's defensive line this year, but as a group, more than I did last year. I said that for a couple of months now. I agree with you that Cashy is probably the best pass rusher this year or last. And then you've got several guys with experience there in the middle, and then a nice, you know, a blend of youth with really good talent to mix in there. It's going to be a great game, guys. If A&M loses, I get to post my stupid duck gif with the Longhorn hat and a cigarette. If A&M wins, I get to say, hey, you know, our 3-person panel sweep of picking the Aggies didn't jinx them. What you got, John?
Win-win. I would like to go ahead and revise my score, because I think Texas A&M, now that I have seen that Lounge Dog has picked Notre Dame, I think Texas A&M is probably going to win by about 3 touchdowns. So Lounge Dog, he picked Tennessee, he picked Notre Dame. Go put your mortgage on Georgia and Texas A&M this weekend.
What I will say on the Lounge Dog prediction, there's a lot of things I'm curious about in this game. I think looking at Notre Dame defense, they're more willing than anybody to run some man coverage. They have 2 of the best cornerbacks in the country. Looking at the film from last week, I think Malachi Toney is very similar to Casey Concepcion in the way they play. I think they're very similar players, and Toney gave them fits. For me, I don't think the offense is going to be an issue. I would be shocked if A&M didn't score more than 21. That may end up being the craziest meme of all time, me saying that. But I really do think they're going to score more than 21. I think especially now they've been pacing the run game these last few weeks. Le'Veon Moss looks incredible when he gets the ball. And I was talking to somebody the other day. They still have Amari Niblack, and that's a guy that I was talking to him about the other day, and they were kind of like, just wait, just kind of wait. It kind of gave me a sense that they're waiting for this game to kind of show that hidden trick up their sleeve or two that they have, and I think he's play a big factor in this game as well.
That's one thing, man. Really good point that a lot of fans just can't comprehend. Georgia's not showing every bullet in the arsenal. You know, A&M and Colin Klein are not rolling out there against UTSA or Mike Elko even on the defensive side, and they're saying, here you go. This is what we're going to do in the big games. This is our tricks, as you just said. Here's a little wrinkle to this concept that I like to run so much, just so you can have it on film and defend it and not embarrass yourself. You know, that to me is what's crazy is like, you know, Texas just came off Ohio State game. We're playing San Jose State, and it's the first air raid team that Ohio State didn't have to get into all their air raid stuff. Mm-hmm. San Jose State, that's all that they were going to do to have a chance. Texas runs very, not vanilla defenses at all times, but I mean, they didn't show a lot concept wise. Mm-hmm. Nothing like they'll show, I'm sure, when Oklahoma and John Mateer and that passing attack comes. So just making your point, using a different example. A&M at times, you did struggle with the ground game. Mm-hmm. But what happens when you start committing more bodies and when you start throwing in shifts and fronts, slants, things that you haven't done here early in the season? You know what 100%. I mean? And so with that, we'll lead right into it, guys. Got about 10 minutes at most here. I want your thoughts on my Longhorns because half of us are panicking. The other half, they're like, dude, we expected this. But what do y'all see as, I say mostly neutral parties here in this situation?
I'll go first. I think Texas is going through a lot of what Georgia is going through right now with a quarterback, and with not just a quarterback, but I think it's, I think you have a lot of experience, but you also have, you have a lot of talent, but there are certain areas where there is inexperience. And at the end of the day, I think Texas, you had a challenge where you opened up with Ohio State. I mean, hey, welcome to QB1, Arch, and offensive line, et cetera. But then you also have just a lot of guys who just have to get experience playing together, and especially on the offensive side of the ball. And I think we're seeing it with Georgia. We saw it with Alabama versus Florida State. I mean, I think like these things happen when you have a new quarterback, you have some new skilled players, you have some new pieces on the offensive line. No matter how much experience you have in certain areas, these things happen. So I think that's what Texas is going through. My thing is, I've told Cord this a couple times. I replied to him on Twitter with this a couple times. It's just like Sarkisian. I don't think Sarkisian necessarily gets tight or gets conservative or whatever. I think Sarkisian really believes in a lot of the stuff that he tries to run, but I think he is going to have to do a better job. Just like Kalen DeBoer had to do with Alabama, just like I think Mike Bobo and Kirby Smart are going to have to do with the Georgia offense this week. You got to do a better job at picking winners. You got to do a better job of just being like, hey, these are the play, the 10, 15 plays that I have that I know should be winners. If we execute, these are winners. And I think that's what Texas is missing a little bit, is like in these games. Where are the winner? Like, where's that? Like, you know what? Like that play right there is one that you don't save because you're playing Ohio State, right? Like that's a winner. And that's what I haven't seen as much from Sark, of just feeling like you just know the team so well that it's like, dude, like, yeah, we might not win this game. We're not playing well, but I got like 10 plays in my pocket that like I know when we need a first down, we can get a first down, and that's what we need to see from Sark.
What about you, Jax? What are you thinking on the Horn so far through 2 weeks of play?
Yeah, I think a lot of my Aggie people are going to get upset with me on this, but I'm not really as worried about Texas in terms of if I was a Texas fan, as I think a lot of them are. I think week one, I think that game, and kind of piggybacking off what John said on Sark, I think as a play caller, it's very similar to how Colin Klein is, to where, especially at times last year, it's just you need somebody in your back, behind you, I'm sorry, just kind of whispering you to like stay to the game plan, stick to what you know will work, and stick to what you've seen on the film. I think too often he tries to get a little too nice in the red zone or kind of go to something over and over and over that just doesn't work. I think running inside the 5-yard line, Texas has learned that does not work against Ohio State. There was an odd commitment to doing it. I think offensively, I think that if you talk to A&M fans, at least, I'm one guy that will give Arch more credit than anybody. I'm not going to be a guy that says he's a world beater, but I think he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. I think you need more from Arch. I think the mechanics and just kind of maybe the pressure of everything has built up to where he just needs to kind of have a game where it just comes from him naturally, and he just can sit there in the pocket and not have to worry about anything. I think things will come together for that offense. I think there's talent. I think once Baxter gets going, it'll be all right for them.
You know, I agree, man. I'm in the same boat with both of you gentlemen. John and I over on my channel have kind of talked about this already, but it's just a matter of getting reps. A lot of guys on offense that haven't had to be the guy are now kind of, being asked to be the guys, especially there on the offensive line, the wide receiving room. Clint, I will say this, they a little bit underwhelming. Got to get Ryan Wingo going. That's the main theme, I'd say, in that room. That DeAndre Moore's health, a little bit banged up, but should be fine. But yeah, the tight end is going to be a massive coup for Texas. I mean, that Jack Hendricks is the best tight end Texas has had in 20 years. It's a guy that can run all the routes, very willing blocker, perfect blocker, not yet, no, but he will be there. Okay, he's up against a different type of athlete than he saw at California, on average, and so you'll notice that Texas is, well, if you pay attention, we have opened up so much more of the playbook as far as run concepts. We can do a lot more things with Jack Andrews. And so, again, I'll continue to profess my love for that young man and what he can do on the football field for Sarkisian. But, again, I agree with you, Jax. I think it all goes hand in hand. The offensive line plays better. Arch probably plays a little better. The run game looks a little better if we're breaking off chunk runs instead of, getting what is blocked. I think Arch looks a little better. But, yeah, 16 does have to, at the end of the day, slow it down. Which he did, in my opinion, a much better job of in week 2. Of course, much easier to do so against the San Jose State than, in front of 100,000 people in Columbus. So at Florida, that's the big moment for Arch Manning, the next big moment for me, for him to really show the country like, hey, this is who I am going forward as a quarterback. And again, there's a lot of our own fans that want to see that too. And so a couple of big weeks for Texas. You get a bye week coming up before you start conference play. I'm perfectly okay with the trend line, guys. Get rid of some pre-snap penalties, clean up a thing or two. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a really good defense in your back pocket that's going to keep you in a lot of dang games. So thank you guys for entertaining my crowd here with a little bit of Texas talk over the last 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Anything else at all that you gentlemen want to say about either of your matchups, Texas, whatever, before we get out of here?
Vols by 90.
Ags by 17. Ags by 17. I'll be nice.
We're all over the place. I love it here. Jax, thank you very much for joining Inside Texas tonight. John, thank you for joining Inside Texas. Guys, if you're out there and you haven't liked or subscribed, please go do both, man. It's free, it takes no time, and we'd love to have you here. Turn on notifications so you when all of the Inside Texas the videos are dropping, man, because it's daily content, multiple videos a day. So thanks for being here. Thanks for your comments, for your support, and we'll catch all of you guys next time. Have a great night.